she was the gateway for Brady to commit the perfect murder.
He told me he wanted to do a perfect murder, and I was going to help him.
And she signed up to this agreement. Child was going to be more trusting of a woman than a man.
It was Myra Hindley that picked up Pauline Reed. It was Myra Hindley that picked up John Kilbride.
And Myra Hindley could have been watching, she could have been participating. The perfect murder seeds the chain of the growth of torment.
Stuart.
Luke.
Great to see you again.
Likewise, great to see you.
As always. Would you like to introduce this video and what we're here to talk about today?
Okay, Luke, thank you. Well, essentially, we're going to be talking about the mindset of Ian Brady before any of the Moors murders actually took place. I think it's important that we understand what was in Brady's mind and what he felt he had to indoctrinate Myra Hindley with, because she was going to play a pivotal role in his plans to commit the perfect murder. And we know he did commit the perfect murder once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. We know that he had this plan, he had this desire to do it, and he succeeded. But before he could have done that, he had to have a mindset and a plan that he also had to share with Myra Hindley.
Mm-hmm.
So before any of the murders took place, I'd like to just briefly touch upon what was going on in Ian Brady's mind and how he managed to get Myra Hindley involved, because she was absolutely vital to his plan, and the consequences of the perfect murder. We know, according to the documentary, The Moors Murders Code of 2004, where Duncan Staff made this documentary for the BBC Two.
This safe contains evidence of the code Ian Brady used to record where he buried the victims of the Moors murders.
He had been in communication with Myra Hindley, and she revealed certain things that we'll talk about now. She tells in her letters how Ian Brady wanted her to read and watch certain documentaries and read certain books. So he was going to indoctrinate her to the point where she would go along with the idea of committing the perfect murder,
mm-hmm.
because that was his goal, and he couldn't do it without her. And she actually explains the reason why she was needed, and we'll discuss that now.
I like how you mentioned there about how Brady got Hindley to read books and listen to certain types of music, big band music, Hitler tapes, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
The books were of a satanic kind of nature, and he did the same thing with David Smith.
So you have to remember that initially, when Myra Hindley was in the relationship with Ian Brady before the murders, she wouldn't have been aware of what Brady was all about. But then as you said, he introduced her to various things, and I think most significantly, there was the writings of the Marquis de Sade about sexual sadism.
Mein Kampf.
I believe, yes, Mein Kampf, Hitler's autobiography. The television documentaries about the Nazis. Now, just bear in mind that the war had only been finished 20 years earlier, and people were glad to see the end of this Nazi type of philosophy, yet Brady is embracing it. He's resurrecting it, at least in his own mind. So we have someone here who's going to put into Myra Hindley's mind a philosophy where you have carte blanche access to just about anything. You can do anything, because she's going to have her inhibitions about doing things that otherwise she probably would never have even dreamed of doing. Brady's going to indoctrinate her to say, well, wait a minute, you can do what you want, and to accept whatever he wants to do. Now, Bear in mind, one of these writings is that from the Marquis de Sade, which is all about sexual sadism. And it also tells the reader that, look, there are obstacles to doing things if you want total freedom, such as religion, law, these things that we take as our guidelines. We don't cross these red lines. He's going to demolish all that. So she basically is going down this path of having her inhibitions slowly eroded away. He gave her another book called, I believe it was called Compulsion, whereby two guys, where they kidnap a 12-year-old boy and then hold him to ransom.
They kidnapped a 12-year-old boy for a ransom. They killed him, were caught, and sent to prison. I told him it was a very disturbing book.
Myra Hindley said, well, to Ian, apparently, well, why do you want me to read this book?
But why exactly had he wanted me to read it? He told me he wanted to do a perfect murder, and I was going to help him.
Now, clearly, he couldn't approach her initially with that because of her inhibitions, but by conditioning her mindset, a normal person's mindset is being altered into something else.
Yeah, though I think she was evil anyway.
He obviously explained to her that a child was going to be more trusting of a woman than a man.
That was why he needed me to pick someone up, because I was a woman, and a child would be more trusting of a woman.
Now, just think about this. She would have been made aware before she went down this path with him that this perfect murder was going to involve a child. Okay, this is not something like I'm going to take a rifle and stalk someone and shoot them in the back of the head or something. No, you are going to get a child and you're going to submit that child to everything under the sun. Remember, carte blanche, sexual sadism, torture, you name it. That's what's going to happen to that child. And she signed up to this agreement.
Let's not forget, just to remind some viewers who might not be overly familiar, that the first known victim, I stress known because there may be more, first known victim was someone that Myra grew up with.
Yes.
So she, with Pauline Reed.
Yes.
So she was prepared and did set up the murder.
Yes, she did.
Of someone that she was actually friends with.
Yeah.
That was on her, lived very close by.
Yes.
She actually, there's a quote from, I can't plug the Moors murders, See No Evil, the Moors murders, it's on Netflix, can't plug it enough, it's fantastic. She says when she's been interviewed, when she's asked about Pauline Reed, and she went, I grew up with her, I liked her. Well, clearly, yeah, one part of that's true. But yeah, so just to kind of go into your point a bit more, she's literally prepared to walk Pauline Reed to a death.
Yeah, so here we have now a woman who has acquiesced to all these ideologies, these insidious, horrible, undescribable ideologies that Ian Brady had accumulated and imparted onto her, and she was a willing person who was willing to accept those ideologies. And I think it's important to note that she had every opportunity to have said at that time, before any murder, look, this is absolutely wrong. Her inhibitions, her morals, her upbringing, etc., all of those good things that we as human beings have and which we use as our safeguards in society, she has completely eradicated them by Brady, one would say brainwashing, but teaching and indoctrinating her to these horrendous ideologies that you can do anything you like. So she now is the willing partner in this entity of this couple. Their future now is now locked together in this planning and perpetration of the perfect murder.
Do you think that he was always looking for a partner in crime?
I think he was a clever enough man to realise that without assistance, he couldn't commit the crime on his own. That is my view.
I agree.
I don't see Ian Brady as a tough guy. If you look at the way that he assaulted Edward Evans, for example, in the house, he approached him from behind apparently, and then smashed the axe down on his head from behind. That gave Edward Evans no chance whatsoever to defend himself.
Soccer blow, isn't it?
I mean, you know, now to me, that's a cowardice approach, isn't it? You know, you're not going to give any chance to that victim. They would have no chance. And that's what he did. So I don't see Brady as this hard man or hard criminal. I think he's a real disgusting human being.
He was anything but a hard man, in my opinion.
I think we can all agree he certainly was evil. His approach of getting the victims, if you think about it, is so cowardly. You're going to take an innocent and entrap them. You're going to take them under a pretext that they're going to help you find a glove or something, and then you're going to ambush them. I believe he said, in the case of Keith Bennett, that he pounced on him. Now, I would imagine that's from behind. I can't see Brady being the man and attempting to overcome even a small child from in front, because I think he was that sort of coward. He would approach from behind. That's my feeling of how he was.
Going further into that, the innocence of the child was exploited completely.
Absolutely.
But let's not forget as well, though, like, we're talking about the induction of Myra Hindley into this. It was Myra Hindley that picked up Pauline Reed. It was Myra Hindley that picked up John Kilbride.
Yes.
It was Myra Hindley that grabbed the hand and walked away with Leslie Ann Downey. Might have been Myra Hindley that led Keith Bennett, going off the previous.
Well, in her statement, she says that Brady initially led Keith onto the moor, but then they exchanged positions, apparently.
I think that the way it went down is that she got them away from their safe place.
Yes, she did.
John at Ashton Market, Leslie at the fair in Ancoats, Pauline off the street.
Yes.
Keith Bennett was off the street on his way to his I think he was on the way to his grandma's, and I think she took them from their safe place as the woman, as the young blonde lady. You weren't warned about women back in those days, and once she got them to the danger zone, whether it be back to their house or whether it be up on the moors, then that's when it's like handed over to Brady.
So Brady would have then had the opportunity to commit murder, torture, whatever bestial thing you can conjure up in your own mind. Brady was free to do that, and Myra Hindley could have been watching, she could have been participating, but suffice it to say, she was the gateway for Brady to commit the perfect murder. Now, what I want to do now, Luke, is to move on to what's the consequences now of this perfect murder. Nobody knows he's committed a perfect murder. No one knows he's killed Pauline Reed. So that gives him a template, a modus operandi, a plan, a strategy, call it what you will, to repeat it. Mm-hmm. So you have another perfect murder. And of course that works. And then there's another perfect murder. So whilst the perfect murders are going on, there isn't so much the torment or worry compared to the time when you realise, when the relatives or friends and family of a victim realise that their sons or daughters are never, ever, ever going to return home. The perfect murder seeds the chain of the growth of torment and mental torture for the families of the victims. And that is a horrible form of torture. Mm. They don't know, they are unaware of what's happened to their sons or daughter. And Brady and Hindley do. And they can watch in the community, the poor parents, you know, calling the police saying, look, well, our son or daughter's missing.
They did that with John Kilbride.
Did they?
Brady sat outside the house on his motorbike, watching poor Mrs. Kilbride coming in and out, searching, sat on the bike, and nobody was everyone was none the wiser of who this person was on that bike.
Horrible.
And he was getting kicks out of it,
Well,
clearly.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. That's why he was doing it,
Yeah.
So that's basically where we are with the perfect murders. Now, once, of course, he's caught, and Myra Hindley's caught and they're tried, they go into prison. They're incarcerated. When they were arrested, I think, was it DCI Munsey who found this album of photographs?
The reel-to-reel tape recordings of Leslie,
Right.
and the photographs are, you know, disgusting, obviously highly inappropriate photographs. I think everyone knows what I mean by that. They were found in suitcases in left luggage at Manchester Central train station. It's no longer a train station, but those documents, photographs were in there. I think it was a combination of, because at the time it was Manchester Police, Ashton, and Hyde. You hear again in the drama that one officer went over to one officer from a particular force went to a different force, and in his word, he went over and nicked the negatives of the photograph that identified John Kilbride's deposition site.
Okay.
They then were able to bring up more of the background.
Oh, right.
I think it was Mounsey was part of this trio of police forces working together. Right. But yeah, Mounsey, big shout out for Mounsey, because I know how respected he is.
Crucially, they found, as you've mentioned, the grave site of John Kilbride using photographic evidence, and I think it was 20 years later, eventually, when Myra Hindley was trying to get parole, that she eventually decided to admit to her involvement, I believe, in the murders of Pauline Reed and Keith Bennett.
Yeah.
So we come to an important point in this journey of this perfect murder, because clearly these perfect murders are unraveling, except the fact that the body of Keith Bennett has never been found. So Brady, 20 years or so into his prison, into his incarceration, has still got control, because he knows where the body of Keith Bennett is, and he's still keeping control. Now, why this is important is because as decades go by and Brady is repeatedly asked, will you tell us where the burial site is of Keith Bennett, he replies, either he ignores the request or he gives some strange reply that means virtually nothing to the person he's replying to. In fact, one journalist actually wrote to him, and he wrote this answer: if at Faust you don't succeed. Well, how does that tell you the location of the body of Keith Bennett? With another psychiatrist, I think that it was Dr. Chris Cowley.
Yeah.
I think so. He said, well, Keith is over the edge, not too far from the others. Well, how does that tell you where he's buried? So in other words, what I'm trying to say, Luke, is that Brady persisted in keeping that secret time and time again to himself. He would never, ever give a direct answer. Even when he went to supposedly assist on the moors, he never said to Peter Topping, look, we're going to go and I'll show you where the burial site of Keith is. He never did it. He's keeping control. And I think it was Professor Malcolm McCulloch, who said that in his opinion, he didn't think that Ian Brady would ever surrender that information. He would never release that information about the location of that body. Hence, he is perpetuating his perfect murder. Even though he's admitted he killed Keith, he won't tell anybody, he won't disclose that important information. And by doing that, he's perpetuating the torment on the families, the friends, the police, the investigating officers, anyone associated with the case. He's perpetuating mental torture.